My name's Connor. I'm a chef and media producer. I am joined by my co-producer, Darren Lafferty, who is a 25-year food veteran.
Good thing you wrote that down.
I know, right? I gotta keep reminding myself because last time I screwed it up. So today we've got some special guests. We got quite a few, but today we're gonna focus on the Blood Brothers. Guys, why don't you do me a quick favor and just introduce yourselves, let everybody kind of get used to your voices and so forth, and just kind of identify maybe not so much what your title is, but what your roles and responsibility is at the brick and mortar.
I'm Robin Wong, and I handle most of the kitchen food that comes out and some of the admin stuff, marketing.
Kui Hong, I'm the smoked meat peddler.
Terry Wong, a little bit of everything.
Very cool. Thank you, guys.
That's a good mix.
That is.
Good mix.
Just before we get too deep into this, for any listeners with sensitive ears or who have children listening, these are chefs talking, so this is not safe for anybody who is sensitive to that. So right. Yeah, so you've been warned already, so now with that bullshit out of the way, we're going to get into it.
Fuck that.
Yeah, right. And then also, just a quick thank you to Duke's Premium Meats. You'll hear more from them later, but they are a sponsor, so we always like to give them a good shout out right here at the beginning of the podcast. So, why don't y'all just give us the super condensed version of y'all's history? If anybody really wants to deep dive on it, I know that there's a ton of podcasts that you've gone deep into it, a ton of write-ups and so forth. So those, that's already been done. Just give us just the quick TLDR for any listeners who may not know it. So
Basically, Terry and I are brothers. We've known Kui since high school, going into the early 90s. Terry and I opened a bar basically in 2000. Ran in Chinatown for 5 years, and we closed for 5 years and opened in Midtown in 2010. And in about 2011, we did a customer appreciation party, and Kui offered to do the food for that event because he would have basically barbecue parties at his house all the time. And he was like, well, I'll cook for you for your party. From that, we started doing a steak night that was really popular, and that's when he started dabbling into actually smoking meat. So we went from grilling to smoking, and we would test it. Yeah, he was the grill master instead of the pit master. And then we would let our regulars sample some of the stuff that he'd bring, and they loved it. And had an opportunity. One of my friends was selling a pit. And I told him, I asked him, I was like, are you interested in getting this pit? It's a pretty good deal. I was like, we'll split it with you. So he was like, let's do it. From that, we got an event at Buffalo Bayou Brewery. And then,
Shout out to Bub Brew.
Yeah, they were our first real gig. And, you have to come up with a company. At that point, we had to decide, like, okay, this is more than just weekend stuff. Like, we have to have a brand, we have to have a company. We came up with Blood Brothers because we've been friends for so long, and you're dealing with meats and proteins. We thought it was cool.
Yeah.
And then 5 years of that, we decided. The people. It was really more the people demanding it of us to open a place. So we decided, okay, let's do it.
So without combing over too much of the information, right? So a little bit of digging, and we visited as well, Terry, so the Blood Brothers is because Kui is a part of this process. So you're all brothers, but he's not blood, but he is, right? So you're blood brothers.
Yeah.
All you guys went to Elsick, is that right?
Right.
So that's shout out to A-Leaf. You guys are super proud of A-Leaf.
Yes, sir.
Got the
we love
the graffiti. Too. Got the graffiti inside your restaurant wall, which is super cool. Kind of a throwback to where you guys came from, which is always great to acknowledge, right? You don't forget it. You know where you came from, but you know where you want to be, so that's super cool. And then you guys have just grown this. Where did glitter karaoke come in? Because you didn't mention any names, but I think some of the pop-ups started around glitter karaoke as well, right? That sort of created that demand, right?
Yeah, I think the steak night progressed to that, but we did stuff, Buff Brew, Hay Merchant, a lot of other bars, Refinery, Liberty Station.
Okay, good.
And then we ended up at
Lincoln.
Glitter. I think glitter was like our very last. You know, when we started looking for a place, we were like, okay, we'll still do some pop-ups. Let's just take it home, like home base kind of thing.
Well, so our thing with barbecue is it's supposed to be a social thing, and it's a daytime thing. It's an outdoor thing. Glitter doesn't have a patio, a true patio.
Gotcha.
Of course, it makes sense. Like, why wouldn't you do it at your own place? But it just didn't really work.
Wasn't the right space
it's not the
for
right
what you guys
space.
wanted to do.
So we started a Buff Brew. That was a lot of fun. But they had their own rotation of trucks on a pretty set schedule. So we started off at the refinery right outside of Midtown. Went from the refinery to Liberty.
I think so.
I think Liberty.
To Liberty.
And then to Lincoln.
And then to Lincoln.
And this is just pop-ups, right? You don't have a
we would
food
do
trailer.
once a month.
You don't have a truck. You just
doing
pop-ups.
Yeah, once
And
a
working
month.
full time.
Yeah.
as
Everybody
well.
in full-time job, right?
Yeah, and doing that, yeah, it was rough.
So you literally went from, and I'm not trying to fast forward, but you went from no truck, no trailer, some very successful pop-ups to, well, let's just get on in. I mean, let's get a brick
Well,
and mortar.
in between, we ended up buying a trailer.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have a trailer. But yeah, everything progressed kind of not
Quickly.
fast, I don't think. But
What was either that milestone that you hit or that turning point that you hit where it was like, yeah, we definitely need to move into a brick and mortar?
really, what like Robbie said, I mean, there was a lot of people were like, y'all need to do something with this. Y'all need a brick and mortar. We've also had people, it was hard for people to try our food. I mean, one event we had a customer was like, yeah, I had your food a year ago at Barbecue Fest, but I haven't been able to catch up with you guys.
Right.
Because we were doing it on Saturday once a month, and then we upped it to twice a month. And honestly, I mean, we actually started looking for a spot maybe 2.5, 3 years ago, but could never find
But not really
anything.
hardcore.
Yeah, not like
just casually looking.
casually.
If there was a second generation spot that looked interesting, we'd make some phone calls.
So y'all waited for the right opportunity too, then. So that's good
That's
too. You weren't
also
trying to like shove something into a space.
Knowing what it takes to run a restaurant, we all had full-time jobs.
Yeah, so
So I couldn't just leave the bar.
Right.
So I had to start looking for people and training them and making sure. And I went through about 3 people before the current manager I have now. And the same thing with him. He couldn't just leave the store. He had to make sure that it was okay, timing was right. And it's his uncle's store. So his uncle was like, give me until this day. So we kind of had an idea of when things could really progress.
Well, I think people think once a month pop-up isn't a big deal, but really there's a shit ton of planning that needs to go into it ahead of time. Not only is it just the preparation of the food, but there's also making sure that you've got your permits, you've got everything lined up, you've got even some of these places. When I had my food truck, it was like you had to have like a $2 million insurance policy or whatnot, just to park your truck there in case someone got hurt walking from your truck to the thing, and it was like, oh dang it, call Progressive or call whoever, up it,
One more thing to do.
One more thing to do. Walk me through just kind of like what it took, just to put one pop-up on. Like where did the process start, and then up to service.
So from your backyard, which is completely different, right? To hey, let's do a pop-up. I mean, what does that take?
A lot more food. More place to store. Luckily, we had glitter, so we were able to do a lot of prep there.
Yeah.
Store the stuff there. But yeah, it's just totally different.
Yeah, it's contacting the club. What dates work for you? It's getting the dates down. It's coordinating. Like if we have sponsors, not really sponsors, but we definitely feel like we have partnerships with certain companies like Buffalo Bayou. So I'd contact Buffalo Bayou. I'd tell the bar, this is what we do. We want to offer this beer with our barbecue. If they didn't carry it, make sure they got some in.
Wow, so your pairing was all the way back then.
Yeah.
Everything that we do, we try to pull in our family.
Sure.
So if the bar didn't have it, we'd make them get it.
That's a great attention to detail that nobody thinks about, right?
Then it's the marketing aspect, getting the flyers done and getting the word out, and it's a lot that goes into it, and not having a place to deliver stuff. So it's basically going to Depot and picking up everything.
Right.
we had to buy a couple extra coolers to store, all the briskets and all the ribs and everything, and coordinating with Josh at 44 to make sure that we would have product. There is a lot that goes into it. It's not just showing up and serving food.
I'm always fascinated by the guests that come on, and we learn their story, and our job is to tell that story, right, to the listener. And what I heard immediately is a level of maturity in an industry that usually takes people decades to learn. One of them is preparation. The other thing I heard was second generation restaurant, right? So many people want to build out or get a footprint and build, this is what I want to do, I want to be in control. But the money you save on a second generation has got to be
it's huge.
right, exponentially.
That was our plan.
Yeah, so that's a great level of maturity that you guys had early on. So you must have had a hard time, or really you're waiting for the market to open up with second generation, right? You're not going to new retail spots and trying, we're going to build this out, it's going to be at $500,000. You're waiting on a restaurant to work with. So that's got to be, that tries your patience, right? Yeah. And then you're just like, hey, we're at the mercy of the time frame or whatever it's going to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we'd find a building, no parking. We'd find a place with big parking. It's like the building's falling apart. Yeah. So it was just.
Well, y'all still did put your personal touch on it. That patio that you.
Well, actually, this was a complete build. This was a complete build. It wasn't second.
But you didn't just get it. You didn't just go. You didn't point your finger and say, "Hey, we want that." Right? You went through all the trials.
The spot that we wanted was actually on the other side of the same shopping center.
Oh, okay.
And it fell through.
Yeah.
And the problem is we didn't have a backup place, so we were shitting logs.
Yeah.
So, but we got really lucky. We have an awesome landlord, and he was like, "Well, we've got another space on the other side," and of course we were reluctant, because we're like, well, glad you have one, but you can't do it.
That space is way bigger than the one we were looking at. We were looking at a little thing.
But now in hindsight, I'm glad, because some days we fill that place up, and then a lot of people end up having to take stuff to go because and it still seats 100 people.
Yeah, we still see 100.
It's crazy.
It's decent size.
So the original location fell through for whatever reason, and y'all are all like, "Man, that sucks," because we really wanted that spot.
Yeah, well, we were freaking out.
So then he brings you a new location, new spot. It's not perfect, right? So what are some of the back and forth with that landlord that you went on to say, "Hey, we can make this work for us, but these are the things we kind of need to work with you on"? Was there some of that going on?
The original spot was a corner spot.
Yeah. Oh, really?
So
and it was on the other side facing.
We were going to kind of angle the front door in, not completely inset like this one. So when we got this one, that's just a flat storefront.
Which is it's not a corner space.
So
right?
we asked him, like we were saying earlier, barbecue to us is an outdoor thing.
Yeah.
We wanted
we were like, no, we're not going to have a strip center barbecue joint. Right. No. So we made sure he would allow us to inset that front door and put a patio in, and they were cool with it.
That's good.
They wanted to make sure that that appearance wise it would look nice. So we obviously weren't planning on lining the whole thing with cedar because it was kind of expensive. But they were like, no, if you're gonna do it, we see what you're doing on the inside. You got to do it on the outside, and so we had to get that done. We got all the siding and everything put in. It looks beautiful.
So was that glass that's inset now? It's inset what, maybe 20 or 30 feet?
Yeah.
Was it like
all
the rest of that?
Yeah.
So they really moved that back for you guys to create that outdoor barbecue feel, which is really cool. So that says he speaks. It speaks to his commitment to you guys. And the fact that he wanted y'all to be in there too. So that doesn't happen.
And I couldn't imagine it being any other way, honestly. Yeah. Without that patio, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's shaded. It's cool in there. It's got a great look with the cedar, like you said, and it's ample seating.
Since we opened, you're right. I can't imagine it without it.
It would have a whole different vibe,
Yeah, definitely. And we've got the sound system in and everything now since the last time you were there, so now it's even better.
So there's some music playing out there.
Yeah.
Next is the TVs.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
Good luck keeping those things on.
Huh? Well, we'll have doors.
Locking them up.
Yeah.
So when you were doing the pop-ups and everything, were people reaching out to you, or were you actively kind of before the Blood Brothers name really had that solid following? Were y'all reaching out to different places, cold calling, or was it?
Most of the bars we knew the owners.
Okay.
So it was like a mutual thing. They knew we had a following
right.
that all like to drink. Like, yeah, bring them out.
No, I mean, but yeah, he's right. I mean, that's a big part of it. I mean, the crowd that we have, they're big drinkers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, I think
That
up and
helps.
coming people who want to do something need to understand that there's a big part of networking or
Oh, yeah.
utilizing your network or
Yeah.
getting into
For
sure. those places for sure, because that's that warm call. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
with,
but I mean, I would just pick up any advice. Just pick up the phone and call. Breweries are always a good place to start. I mean, that's where we got our start.
Yeah.
We actually still do some stuff with Buff Brew, like a lot of their just one-off
Their bigger
events.
events,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're
Very
bigger
cool.
events. But yeah, just pick
brewery
breweries
stuff with
always
no
looking
label
for stuff.
you know.
And once you crack that, crack the ice with a name,
Yeah.
like Buffalo Bayou, brewery, it's like, okay, you know what, they see you there, and then it's like, okay, yeah, you've got some legitimacy, so.
Well, that and you do a good job in your food tasting.
Well, yeah.
The people that
You know, a lot of people don't
awesome.
understand it's to have a successful company. It's more than just cooking good food.
Right.
It's the marketing.
Sure.
It's taking pictures. It's social media. It's all that. And so these people knew what they were getting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They knew that they were going to get. They could just go to our Facebook page or our Instagram page and see, like, oh, these guys promote. They're taking pictures. They're tagging people. They're going back. They're backtracking after the event and doing stuff.
So you guys have a little history of promotions too, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
A little background of, because y'all were doing what, bar promotions, club promotions, things
Yeah.
like that early on.
I was
Right.
in the promotion scene from '96 on, doing parties and stuff.
Well, you're still in 2019. You're still
Right.
promoting.
Yeah,
Now you're just promoting you.
Different kind of promotion.
So I'm glad you brought up social media marketing and promotion for the listeners and for the wannabe restaurateurs and for the old guys that are still in the restaurant. How big is social media to your business day in and day out? How big of a part does that play?
Oh man, it's huge. I think it's huge.
So 50%, 60%. I mean, it's
At least.
At least,
I mean,
yeah.
but that's the thing with the industry nowadays. It's changed. Even like probably say 5 years.
yeah.
People expect the chef to come out of the kitchen and touch tables, and that wasn't a thing before. And that's
No.
not a natural thing for a lot of chefs. You're in the kitchen, you're sweating. Something might have went down. The last thing you want to do is go out and talk to a customer.
Right.
But the customers, they expect it now,
Yeah.
and that's that's what I think you'll see. Some of these guys that they might be amazing chefs, but maybe their restaurant isn't doing so well as some of these other ones because they're not as social.
Well, I was going to say, so in my background of sales, food sales, 25 years, I was always in the back of the house calling on the chef, calling on the sous chef, calling on whoever made these purchasing decisions. And you're absolutely right. They're in the back of the house for a reason. They're
Right.
very talented, very creative, but they're not always very social.
Right.
And so to come out of the kitchen and touch tables and greet and meet and hang out, it's tough for some people.
Yeah.
Right? So I would totally agree with you.
I've
That
I've
has
seen people
evolved
like
over
that.
the
They
years.
know they have to do it. They force themselves to do it, and you can tell they're uncomfortable.
And but it pays dividends.
Yeah,
I mean,
it does.
Absolutely.
It does.
'Cause people want to feel special, right?
Right.
And so they want to see the people making the food, and you guys do a great job of
And
that.
that's part of the reason why, like on social media, if a customer posts a great picture, I'm going to repost that picture because that customer is going to be like, oh man, I got on the Blood Brothers
Yeah.
Instagram page. How cool is that?
Yeah. Yeah. You're
It
right.
makes them feel good.
You're totally right. Totally cool.
Well, cool. We're going to take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Duke's Premium Meats Home Delivery is your one-stop shop for premium quality meats delivered right to your doorstep. Delivering all over the United States, Duke's Premium Meats offers you the best in quality by personally working closely with local ranchers and butchers. Duke's Premium Meats offers everything from fillets and lobster tails to heart-shaped ribeyes to Texas-raised Wagyu brisket. Get amazing meat delivered right to your door by using Duke's Premium Meats. Visit their site at www.dukespremiummeats.com. Perfect.
I still love that.
Want to bring us back in?
Yeah. All right, here we go. Welcome back to part 2 of Cost of Goods Told. I am Darren Lafferty, veteran of the food industry, joined by Chef Connor. And our special guest today is Blood Brothers. We've got Robin, Quee, and Terry, also known as Terry Tear. And also, we're coming back into the second session with some special guests. Jim Buchanan of Buck's Barbecue has joined us.
Woo!
And Ara from
Harlem Road.
So welcome back to part 2. We had a great conversation. Check that out, part 1. But we thank everybody for being here. So thank you. We know it's your day off. Everybody, Monday's day off, and so it's your inventory day, it's your rest day, it's your getting ready for prep day, and so thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us to talk a little bit.
Hanging out here at Beavers.
At Beavers, yeah.
Shout out to Beavers.
Shout out to Beavers.
And A-Rash. Hopefully he'll walk in here.
We're hoping Chef Arash will join us soon, and I feel comfortable that he will. We talked about having soju. For those of you who don't know, it's a very delicious liquor, and so it's good. So jump right in. I mean,
yeah, I think the last part of part 1, what we were talking about, was the social media side of it. But I also think that there's a huge part, like you were talking about, like the tagging and the collabs. And I think that's apparent in what you did with the pop-ups at Glitter Karaoke and what you're doing now. Go back to the pop-ups at Glitter Karaoke. I mean, you had some very cool pop-ups. You've had some big names. You've got someone who's actually now a James Beard nominee. So. How, well, one, I think that doing the collab shows the barbecue community, and even in this podcast alone, look at the barbecue community that we have sitting here on a Monday. Yeah, absolutely. How has that kind of affected how y'all operate as a restaurant? And then also, how has it affected the barbecue? Because I know you call yourselves Texas Barbecue because that's what you had originally, but you've asked or started to talk about, hey, we're more Houston barbecue, more so than anything. We've seen it with the desserts. We've seen it with the pop-ups. We've seen it with the gumbo, little things like that. How did that affect your style of cooking barbecue?
I mean, we honestly, when we started, we had a lot of chef friends that actually told us, hey, just do Asian barbecue.
Right.
And we actually didn't really want to at first. We were like, man, we don't want to get pigeonholed into that, this and that. We're like, we want to try to show people we can do the traditional stuff first.
Right.
Work on that first too, because I wanted to. Me myself, I was like, I don't want to start dabbling all this other stuff without being able to cook the stuff properly, anyways.
You got to do the Trinity,
yeah,
right?
Trinity, and just cooking it properly. The flavor is not going to matter if everything is not cooked right.
Yeah, right.
So, and when you try to add too many flavors to start, you're not going to know. What's right, what's wrong, So we just started that. And then I think once we felt like we nailed it, then we started experimenting a little bit.
It's just like small things first, like we would come up with a special sauce or something. And I'm like, oh, well, what are we going to do to pair with this sauce?
Right.
Okay, well, we'll change the rub up on the pork ribs or something, or we'll do a pork belly with this, but like I said, it was just small changes at first.
Yeah, I noticed. I think everyone has experienced that Holy Trinity first, right? So you guys are doing that right. You're getting great feedback, lots of pictures going out, and then at some point though, and it was a short learning curve in terms of having a brick and mortar, producing that amount of food, being sold out. But it was a short time frame before you started doing other things that can. Show the influence of your culture too.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff in the brick and mortar we've done at pop-ups before. So it was just timing thing. We wanted to, we didn't want to overwhelm ourselves.
What's some of the items? What are the items?
I mean, the Thai green curry boudin.
Yep.
One of the probably very first dishes that we did that was just outside the box was the gochujang beef belly burnt ends. We did that at a pop-up. And actually, Fulmer came out, and he actually told us back then that dish kind of propelled him to do the throwdown.
Gotcha.
They had been talking about doing a throwdown for a while, but he said, after he had that kind of like moved things, up a little bit. So that was probably our very first, like fusion type.
So if you had words of advice for anybody jumping into it, but not that we're getting there, but you would say, perfect what you know first, right? What's going to feed the masses? Perfect.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Yeah, because I think like if we would have opened in Bel Air with just banh mi's and all this weird stuff, like people walking in from that neighborhood too, they're gonna walk in and we're like, I don't know about this, and they'll probably
you gotta have the basics down.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like you're a basketball player. Like you gotta learn the bounce pass before you can do a behind the back pass.
Right.
Yeah.
But you also didn't take and this isn't a knock at all whatsoever, but you didn't take a traditional culinary path, where you work in
Oh, no,
restaurants or anything like
I
that.
have no
So,
culinary experience.
Nobody here knows anything about a
Yeah.
professional kitchen.
well, see that, but
We don't even know nothing about the bar business. We're just winging it.
So, traditionally what you would see is you'd see someone start as prep cook, work their way to an exec chef, but we have actually Jim kind of as an example as well. And then on the opposite spectrum, we have Ara here,
Who's an
Right.
executive chef.
who's an
Yeah.
exec,
Trained,
classically trained, work
Real
your
deal.
way up through the ranks.
Holyfield.
So when you're crafting, and I know we talked about it on our podcast a little bit, but when you're crafting and you're working and you're tweaking it or whatnot, yeah, you got the pop-ups to kind of test that, but you still got to put in that 10,000 hours somewhere to get it down packed, and whether that's constant repetition in the back of someone's kitchen or it's constant repetition at home, or how did you kind of get that under your belt to get you to be the pit master that you are? Because like you were
Burned a
talking
lot
about
of meat.
Pardon?
Burn a lot of meat.
Burn a lot of meat,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know the program. I mean, like Robbie said, a lot of it was just backyard. I mean, when I first learned, I learned on a Weber kettle, not even a smoker.
You just needed to eat.
Yeah, bank them coals and, go.
Even now, 3 months into the restaurant, he'll still pull me to the side and be like, I changed it. I'm going to do it this way from now on. It's better this way. And he's been doing that from day one.
Right.
Our briskets, when we first started, they were good. They're nowhere close to what we're putting out now.
They're better.
And that's because he's always tweaking it.
Yeah. And then this new smoke, the sniper, really, I'm 2.5 months, 3 months cooking on it.
Yeah.
They're brand new. I've never, that first offset we
And
bought,
also
I hated
using
that
different
damn thing.
different briskets now too. We're sourcing different briskets and having to learn how those cook and how to trim them. Doing some different types of trimming that we never did before. So it's everything you can. You're always learning.
Well, you're always going to have to adjust. Your
You're always
smoker's
adjusting,
going to change on you day to day. Especially the
the
more
more
seasoned it
seasoned it
gets.
becomes.
Yeah,
More season,
absolutely.
different batches of wood. There's a little bit of everything. Every cook is different.
And I think Jim and Ari, you can both probably attest to that. Even as an industry-long veteran, right? You're constantly tweaking. You're constantly
always.
evolving. The food industry is always changing. Better meats, better quality meats, better cooking techniques, things of that nature. Is that
No two
right?
briskets are the same
Yep,
when you're
that
trimming
too.
it.
It comes from an animal. No two animals are the same.
So it's all feel and touch. That's why it's actually a very difficult position to teach somebody
Yeah.
Yeah.
on how to either trim meats or how to cook a brisket or a beef rib or all the meats that we
Keep the
smoke.
fire going even.
Yeah, or managing the fire
Yeah.
based on the type of smoker it is, which way the wind is going.
Right.
All that, even in a controlled environment like a pit room, that is controlled. It's not outside. You don't have that much outside wind. It still makes a difference.
And we've talked about this on other podcasts too. Barbecue is a science. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Just like baking is a science, right?
Oh, yeah,
if you have a one-pot meal, you can get away with some stuff. There's a lot of forgiveness because there's 10 things going on at once. It simmers for a long time, right? Barbecue has exterior elements, humidity, interior pit, smoke, wood, all those things. Would you agree, Jim?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And a lot of it is also touch and feel.
Yeah.
Which you can't put in terms of a recipe. Like coming from a classical background, I can give you the recipe for any dish or any dessert or baked item. I can give you a recipe with directions. You can follow it. You're gonna get pretty close to it. You can't do that with barbecue.
Yeah.
It's so much of it is touch and feel and experience
Yep.
that
Touch your meat constantly.
As you should. As you should.
Later, Terry.
But then there's that elevation from, okay, we did a pop-up once a month. Okay, so I got to execute, let's say, 10 briskets.
Daily.
Easily, like to match. Now, day in, day out,
yeah.
those briskets have to be freaking consistent. Yeah, you're going to make tweaks along the way, but you're going to make tweaks and then they all have to match that tweak, How's that been as a learning curve for
It hasn't been too bad.
good.
Yeah, some days, for the most part, we've been pretty consistent. Some
I think
days,
we lucked out too because for the first couple months we were getting all the same product. We were getting all 44.
Yeah.
We'll just put them out there.
Shout out
They-
44 Farms.
Yeah, they've been our
Shout
partner
out.
since day one for
Yeah,
us.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we love those guys. We were getting enough, we were getting a consistent product. So I think that allowed us to learn the new pit.
Yeah.
Without having too many
Variables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you gotta have one consistent piece, right?
Right.
That's the equipment. So you have a pit maker, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you have another pit as well.
Well,
Yeah, I have
but
two pit makers.
Yeah,
One's,
two pit makers,
yeah,
okay.
one's a vault, which is like cabinet style, and the other one's a sniper, which is the
So
offset.
shout out to pit maker too.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Very strong in
I
the
think
Houston
all
market.
all of us use pit
All the
makers.
guests on the
Yeah,
show
we're
are
all-
using pit maker, right?
Well, not anymore.
Not
Oh,
anymore.
yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, guys. Still love you.
We got or maybe there's an opportunity to get back in. You never know.
No, I you know, for what I was doing, I needed more capacity that I was able to get out of the pit maker pits without having to buy multiple pits.
I got you.
And you know, I wanted to go back to a more traditional, you know, pipe style offset smoker, and they don't really make. That's not really
Yeah.
their market. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, they can make it for you, but
Sure.
it's not their specialty. Their specialty is, you know, fully insulated cookers that are really geared towards competition cookers.
Yeah.
Not so much a commercial side, although they're really starting to become kind of prevalent on the commercial side.
Yeah.
But you know, for me, I needed a bigger pit.
Well, I think you can tell me if I'm wrong, but a pit is very personal. Right? You pick the kind of pit you want, whether it be a vertical or an offset or whatever. I mean, I would see that as something you would choose. You go pick it out and you want to
Yeah,
test
right.
drive it, and you talk to your buddies and what you like. And so, I mean, it's, you know, the fact that you like something different is cool too. You put out great product.
Oh, I mean, I'll probably pick up a vault at some point, just because I love the way that they cook. I mean, they're fantastic on poultry and ribs. You know, you can only get so many briskets in a vault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but it's feel, you know,
Yeah.
it's very personal, like you said. It's almost like, you know, basketball shoes, you know, like I preferred Adidas at one point, and then my feet swelled up, and it was like, okay, now underarm, you know, reaches elderly age, it helps me with the New Balance now, you know, so.
I mean, you choose
pediatric.
shoes or women. I mean, whatever.
You know,
Yeah,
whatever
whatever.
it
Very
is.
personal too. I mean, whatever you like.
But it's also kind of the same thing for the kitchen stuff that I'm putting out, is that we've never batched them in
Yeah.
those quantities, and we
Yeah.
had to learn how to adjust
Oh,
the
yeah.
recipes and cook times and everything to do quantities like that, and that took about a month
Yeah.
After opening or before opening?
after opening.
Wow. See, that's a big gamble.
Yeah.
Right? That's. I mean, I would think that would be one of those huge learning curves, like you're running up a hill with roller skates on, hoping like hell you get to the top of
Yeah,
it.
that's the thing. Like, thank God none of the critics really came that first month, because I wasn't super happy with what we were putting out. You know, but it was solid. I mean, it started off pretty good.
Yeah.
But I'm real picky on that. Could be better. That could be better.
But to your point, some very important critics did come out.
Yeah.
Your everyday consumer who
Oh,
comes
sure.
to eat, right? So
Sure,
I know what you mean. I mean, you're talking about the food writers and the
food-
critics and the foodie people.
The white beards.
I mean, you know, I always wait 60 days. I let the kinks get worked out. But more importantly, so those people are going to show up every day, right? Day in and day out. Come see you 2 times a week, not just the
Oh, and
critic
the
who
neighborhood's
does
been
it
amazing.
Yeah.
We have several of those.
Yeah, we
that
gotta
are-
give shout outs to Bel Air, man. Bel Air has been amazing.
But you can see that they've embraced y'all too. You didn't
Yeah,
come in
definitely.
there arrogant. You didn't come in there cocky.
Definitely, they
You
did
know,
great.
and so even I think it's like you were saying. You know, like, hey, we're gonna stumble along the way. While let's say a 5-star restaurant stumbles in those first 2 things, they're dead in the water. While a group of guys who come in, they're like, hey, look, we're here to represent. We're here to do as good work as possible. You've seen us from when we were doing it out of a Weber. You know, it was like a little Weber. You know, I think that comes with a different feel.
And also the fact that you guys are very gracious, right? On social media, it seems to be a
Yeah.
great platform to not only say, hey, we sold out, but you guys crushed us. Thanks for the love. Thanks for coming out. Join us again on Wednesday. We're going to start all over again.
Oh yeah.
And so that's really refreshing, right?
Can't do it without the people coming in the door.
yeah.
you
Of course.
know?
Yeah.
Of course. But not a lot of restaurants give back to those
Yeah.
customers on a regular basis like you guys do. Lots of them do. But the ones that don't, I think they probably suffer a little bit. You guys are very gracious, and it shows a lot for where you come from. So,
Yeah. Speaking on that too, I don't want to necessarily call it networking, but I mean, like, there is a network that you need to maintain and develop as you're starting to move towards the brick and mortar. Now, you guys are still working full time. You guys are now trying to open up a brick and mortar, so now you've doubled that load. But then you're also still pretty involved, not just online, not just like on Instagram and Twitter and things like that, but with different podcasts, with different media events, with different bloggers and so forth. How do you balance all of that and not just go, dude, no, you know? Like, I was super fortunate that you guys said yes, and then also that the Houston Chronicle was shooting at the same time, you know, and that was like, hey, look, we've already got the food, just take pictures and things like that, and it kind of just blended well, and you guys were super warm and welcoming to let me come in, but I can't be the first one. I'm not going to be the last, and there's going to be other people just constantly barraging y'all. How do you balance it, you know?
Oh, we just kind of wing it.
Yeah, we win it, and honestly, I think we've just gotten pretty lucky. I mean, none of them have really
Asked a lot. Nothing's been
it's been
put us in a bad spot. I mean, it's all
nothing
been
like that.
pretty smooth.
That's good.
Yeah, because I mean, some of them come in and they're like, "Hey, make it look like this because I want to get the Instagram shot and things like that." Or,
We did have one
But I think
photographer
Queen
that
is
was
good
like
at
that.
that too. You're kind of on the fly all the time.
Huh?
You're kind of on the fly all the time. You're like,
no,
whatever you want, let's make it happen.
We
Yeah,
did
make it
have one
happen.
photographer that came in and it took a good hour of our time. And we were like, oh man, if this guy only uses two pictures and he
I
really
joked around, I said,
took about
he
100
took
pictures.
100 pictures, he's going to use one. Watch. And they literally used one picture.
We don't want to say who, but it was in their defense, it was a really good picture. Though.
Okay,
It was an awesome picture.
good. Well, you guys
He
deserve
took
that
a
exposure.
ton.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. We're appreciative of all this.
Yeah.
So, like, it'd be hard for us to be like, oh, we don't have time for you. I
Yeah.
mean, like, things like this, the other guys in the community, Jim, Ara, like, they're the reason why we're here. I mean, they're a big part of that, Chris and JR and Michael, they're a big reason why we're where we are.
That's why also the reason why we all support each other.
Exactly.
Because we have, this camaraderie, and we all started somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And none of us are. I think the reason why we are such good friends and we all hang out and we do the barbecue festivals, the late nights, and we give each other a hard time. These guys always give me a hard time to be the first to run out.
You promised to give him a hard time, and you're so tame tonight.
I know.
It's coming in part 3. We're gonna do some shots between part 2 and 3.
I'm warming up. I have a hard time giving these guys a hard time because I love them so much.
He's saving it for him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to Robin, to your point, I mean, JR and those guys have welcomed us as well as enthusiasts, right? And so they have given us the platform to sit with you all. And so my point in bringing that up is the community is phenomenal, right?
Oh,
the
yeah.
barbecue.
Yeah.
I wasn't exposed to that. I come from a restaurant background on the sales side, and everyone would stab each other in the back to save a nickel or to get a leg up. And I don't want to say that that doesn't happen from time to time in any industry, but the barbecue industry, everyone goes back to the same mentality of, look, yes, we're ultimately in competition with each other, but we're all brothers around a food that's centered around community and
outside of
family.
Ara, we're guys that started off in our backyard.
it really is an interesting phenomenon because chefs are notoriously secretive. I mean, they're like really closed in. I mean, they got special cliquey friend groups and whatnot. But they don't really share a whole lot with each other. On the barbecue side, I mean, we're like super close. I mean, we talk to each other about, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? And I mean, we actually tell each other what we're doing, and how we do this and how we do that.
Yeah.
And that's just, and it's really like the chefs that are in the barbecue industry now. I mean, they'll tell you, hey man, this is really different than what we did when I was on the fine dining side. So
I mean, there's
It's
things
definitely different.
There's things that I've seen even on social media, and I'll throw out. Fiji's had a broken down rotisserie oven, right, or smoker, right, and within minutes, people are volunteering to go over and help them smoke or take product to their restaurant and smoke. I mean, that's the kind of lending hand that you don't see all the time. We talk about it almost to ad nauseum, but this is a different podcast where you guys experience it, you agree with it, and you would do the same thing for somebody else.
I mean, people help out Fijis just because they're afraid of Aaron, but
But you can't walk into a barbecue joint
She
or
looks so
you can't
sweet.
look at a smoker without somebody else's stickers on there. You know what I mean? It's every door and everybody's just, hey, look.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. We have a lot of customers that walk in. It's like, oh, we've been to Regal's. Why do you have your competitors there? I'm like, we're a Houston barbecue family. Technically, they're our competitor, but I've always said this city's big enough for a ton of restaurants, ton of barbecue restaurants. I mean, if you got a barbecue restaurant on every corner in Lockhart, you know, they're all been there for 30, 40, 50 years. Like,
Right.
same thing could happen here, you know.
And we'll have customers that, oh, are you going to do a non-spicy version of this? Are you going to do something? I was like,
Man,
no, this
I
is
don't cook
our
like that.
style.
You want the
There's
non-spicy
plenty
version,
of
someplace
others.
else.
You know, there's great barbecue. Like you can go to Bucks, you can go to Harlem Road, you can go to Regal's, you can go to, every single one of those places have their own, flavor profiles and their own
Unique
maybe
way of-
unique
Yeah.
unique way of
And
doing
that's
things.
what I think. Yeah, the
It
scene
may not
now.
be, you don't like spicy, anything spicy, or you have a low tolerance for spice, then I'm sorry, Blood Brothers might not be your place. But if you do enjoy those things, we got you.
Yeah.
Come on down.
What do you guys consider to be what? So every cuisine has its spot, right? And there's a huge craft barbecue movement going on right now. When I grew up, there was no craft barbecue. It was barbecue, and that's what you got. What's the difference between barbecue and craft barbecue?
I have no idea.
I say just with the guys that are doing it. I don't want to say doing it right, but
there's chain barbecue.
Well, I
they're
think
not using
look at the
prime.
products. that we
I
get.
think craft barbecue. A lot of people equate it with more, better quality meats.
What a quality meats.
A
Okay,
lot
so
of
quality
these,
meats as well.
yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of these places are still, nothing wrong with cooking select,
Right.
But a lot of places are just still doing the bottom, not
The cheapest brisket you can
cheapest
get.
brisket,
Slow
cheapest
and low.
ribs,
Yeah.
Skinny tender and being able to cut.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You can actually turn some pretty phenomenal products
Oh,
with
yeah.
those.
Sure.
It's just you can't do it consistently and every brisket to come out the same or
Right.
every pork rib to come out the same. And I think part of the craft scene is we pay a lot of attention to the details of how we produce that food.
Yeah.
So I know these guys do. I know he does. I know I do. So we all pay such detailed attention to every little aspect of the smoking process, selecting the meat, the spices, to perfecting that every single piece tastes the same. I think that's where the whole craft part of it comes in play. And because we're all friends and we all talk about how we each do things, believe it or not, we all do things differently. Even though some of the techniques may be the same, some of the equipment be the same.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I love their barbecue because I can't have it anywhere else.
Right.
Their barbecue is phenomenal.
It's unique,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's very unique to them.
I do want to expand on that. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to pay some bills real fast. But we will be right back with more. Duke's Premium Meats Home Delivery is your one-stop shop for premium quality meats delivered right to your doorstep. Delivering all over the United States, Duke's Premium Meats offers you the best in quality by personally working closely with local ranchers and butchers. Duke's Premium Meats offers everything from fillets and lobster tails to heart-shaped ribeyes to Texas-raised Wagyu brisket. Get amazing meat delivered right to your door by using Duke's Premium Meats. Visit their site at www.dukespremiummeats.com.
Well, we're not fucking cooking brisket.
But none of us go around like none of us go around.
Yeah, we
like,
don't say, "Oh, we're
come
cooking."
try our craft barbecue.
Yeah.
But there is a clear difference in quality between a Spring Creek and a good company and
Right.
Blood Brothers.
They're mass-produced barbecue. It's like going to Golden Corral versus going to Killing Steakhouse.
But
Yeah,
what's I guess why it sticks out of my mind is, so when I was a kid, the best of the best was good company. Right?
Yeah.
You went over there, you paid too much money for some
that's like
jalapeno
a lot of
bread,
us,
you made
yeah,
a
they
sandwich
do.
out of the brisket, and you had a great time. I mean, the food was good. But
Yeah.
now, brisket's a little thicker sliced, it's a little more juicier, it's got a little better flavor. I mean, that's what I'm trying to get the listeners to understand, that
It's thicker
Right.
slice because it's tender and you have to cut it thicker or it falls apart.
Right,
It's
right.
not- It ain't. This ain't South Carolina where they're slicing brisket on deli slicers because they didn't cook it.
there's a place that right at the exit where I work, which is Baytown, and it's called Four Corners Barbecue. And I pulled it up on Yelp to do my research on it, and it had 2.5 stars, and it looks like shit. But one of my coworkers walked in one day with this tray of barbecue, and he's like, "Man, I stopped at Four Corners. It's the best barbecue I've ever had." And I had to stop myself from saying, "You're a fucking idiot." By just tell me what's good about it. Have you ever tried craft barbecue before? Where do you normally eat barbecue? And I tried to explain to them the difference. They don't get it, right? But there is a perception that barbecue is barbecue, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's not, right?
I mean, we get that now, like especially people like with meat plates.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have meat plates? Well, I can make you a meat plate. It's all the
See,
same.
there's the excitement right there.
And
There's
I'm gonna weigh it out. It's
Wait.
We have meat. Trust me.
I have a plate and I have meat.
Yeah.
I don't have a 2-meat plate on my
Wait.
You tell
We'll
me
do a
what meat
classic
you want, I'll make
real
you
quick
one.
because this is
That's
great
what they say,
content.
too.
So. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Okay, so we're back with part 3. I'm going to actually cut in some of the conversation that we had before this because I was recording. So no, because it was good.
This is no good.
But I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of what we ended with on last section. I think that this will bring us to where the conversation we were having before. In my journey of this barbecue leading up to the Houston Barbecue Festival, I have been trying to find different ways of describing everybody's barbecue in the craft world. And when I was thinking about everybody who was going to be here today, I was thinking, okay, what is the distinguishing factor? And maybe it wasn't necessarily a profile. To me, it was like when I got home and we finally, after I had the barbecue and everything, Blood Brothers Barbecue to me was almost like going to a friend of yours who just does phenomenal backyard barbecue. That's not to put you down or anything like that.
That's where we came from.
Yeah,
so.
no, it came
Everybody has to start
across.
somewhere, right? You gotta start somewhere.
It came across. Even the fried rice was like, dude, this is like somebody who was like, dude, I had fried rice, and then I was just gonna throw this in there. That's how Mama was making this, and so I put that together. When I thought of Buck's barbecue, I thought, man, this is like, I want to sit there and eat that barbecue and watch a basketball game or watch sports. Like it fit in the bar. Like I know it's kind of cliche to say like, oh, from the backyard, in the bar or whatnot. But even here at Beavers, Arash's food actually lends me to want to eat something other than barbecue. It's like I'll get a little bit of barbecue, but I also want to get something else on the menu.
Chicharrones, pork tacos.
Yeah, it's just
all the
it's
good
all that extra restaurant stuff. And then it was like
I want that
Ara's.
seafood dip now.
Ours was like, okay, this is elevated barbecue. Not to put it on a different level or put anybody else down, but it was so unique, so different, so like, hey, this guy's putting. It was like eating at a 5-star restaurant, barbecue style.
You got to get that octopus.
Yeah.
Man.
That's the last thing.
That's
I haven't had it yet,
Yeah,
but no, I ain't missing it a second time.
From Harlem Road, Texas.
There you go. You got it.
I think one of the things with us is like we always tell people we want to cook the food we would want to eat.
Exactly.
That's why my flavor actually we sat down the other day and like, you know what? Every one of our sausages has cheese or is spicy. Like, and there's people that ask, or you don't have enough. I'm like, no, we actually don't. And we think about it, and it's like, but we don't want to make a plain Jane like.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of being the owner of the restaurant.
Yeah.
It's your palate, right? So yes, you want to feed people, but you want to feed people the food that you're proud of.
Yes,
But
exactly.
So it makes sense.
But knowing your niche as well, where it's like, okay, we'll use like Spring Creek as an example or something like that, or any chain restaurant. They have to appeal to every demographics, most bottom common denominator. While you guys, let's just say, okay, hey, we're looking at number 2. There's only a few spaces you can go into where there's enough of that demographic that wants that style of barbecue. Not to say anything about different things.
So when we started though, we've toned it down.
Yeah.
Well,
had
the
some
first
serious
briskets,
heat.
the first
my
briskets
rubs,
that he
my
did.
rubs at home, backyard, spicy.
really
I
spicy.
didn't give a damn.
When we did a pop up, I told Quee, we were like, okay, I can eat this, but about 40% of the people can't eat
So
this.
over.
And then he would be like, I did it the same way. I weighed it out, and it's one of those things. Like sometimes with chilies and stuff, sometimes they're hotter than others. So it's like
that's right. No two chilies.
we've had to tone it. We toned it
But
down.
in general, though, we toned it down. But hence, that's why when
But
we
we're
made
not losing
bar-
our identity.
Yeah, but so
course.
when we toned it down to sell to the masses, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a spicy barbecue sauce. That's it. Like you're not gonna if you're gonna put sauce on our food, it's gonna be spicy.
Well, that's the SWAT barbecue
Yeah.
sauce, right?
It's good.
know,
I mean,
so
it's
we're
good.
like-
It's got a good balance of tang and heat. And
Yeah, we didn't want to. I was like, and we actually ended up doing like another like non-spicy
A sissy sauce.
Yeah, but it's totally different. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's a mustard base,
right?
You know, so we wanted to give, you know, because it's a.
But I love that everybody's kind of got their identity and they've kind of fit into the mold, and that doesn't. That comes organically. You can't force that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we've always said, like, you know, you could go anywhere and get brisket, ribs, and sausage,
Right.
whether it's good or not. You know, but you know, I think everyone, you know, Jim does like his meatloaf. He does the peanut butter brisket, like crazy stuff. You know, we do crazy stuff. Ara does crazy, you know. So and it works. And that's one thing when we started branching out, it was kind of like, let's do some different stuff to bring the people. Like, you can only get that at Blood Brothers.
Yeah.
You know,
I wasn't surprised when I saw the banh mi come out, but I was surprised it didn't happen sooner, because it lends to the strength, right, of your culture. It lends to the strength of what you guys are comfortable with. I talked to Terry early on. I'm like, dude, 3 Asian dudes open up a barbecue spot. Help me understand that. Right? That's like the beginning of a joke. 3 Asian guys walk into a barbecue.
Yeah, it is totally.
But it's phenomenal. I mean, what you've done is focused on the Trinity, which we talked about. I don't want to overstate it, but it's so important that you understood what Texas barbecue, Central Styles, was, and then boom, you're like, hey, we're going to do this now.
But I think you got to give a lot of credit to Chris, JC, and Michael for doing things like, number one, the barbecue fest, for bringing all this together. But then doing the throwdown and saying, okay, don't do what you did at barbecue fest. This one's about having fun and being creative. And then you know, Tejas is doing the chili relleno sausages. It blows everybody away.
Right?
And you know, and then everybody now everybody's like, you know, we don't have to stick to the Trinity. Let's have some fun. You know, you got Arash. Arash's mind is insane. He does crazy stuff. You know,
I think that everyone, you know, it helps push everyone.
Yeah, it pushes all
you
of
know,
us.
like especially with like the sausage stuff.
The meatloaf. I mean,
know.
you know, people are having. I think the pitmasters are really having a lot of fun now. It's a good time to be in barbecue.
The first time I saw you guys was at the throwdown last year, right? And first of all, I was intimidated because you had a gang of people come in.
Oh yeah.
Well, they always do.
And they're all Asian.
And they're always loud. They're always really loud.
A whole bunch of Asians right now. But then when I stepped up and tried your food, man, this is phenomenal. And I think you had done something with a Thai chili.
It was a Thai
the
chili.
boudin, I think, with the
the
papaya
boudin.
salad.
Oh,
yeah.
phenomenal.
Exactly.
I mean, just that kind of spin, right? Says, hey, we're here.
We actually had a
We're comfortable
customer
with
come
who we
in
are.
yesterday and ask for papaya salad, and I was like, "What? We never even served this here."
Holy cow!
But y'all's evolution, right? Get in where you fit in, make a little noise, now be yourselves, has really come full circle into a brick and mortar, which is really refreshing for the industry. Because who would have thought that you'd be in Bel Air, right? Open up a barbecue
we didn't
spot,
think that.
and successfully so, that you're getting written up and all kinds of. So you know the accolades are just stacking up.
Speaking about coming full circle, when my family first moved to Houston, my parents actually opened their jewelry store literally a block from where our brick and mortar sits now.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Oh,
like right
funny.
across the street, pretty much.
So you're familiar with the area.
A little bit. I was a wee child, so I don't remember a whole lot. I remember the Kip's Big Boy.
Oh, really?
yeah.
Right there.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, it's a very successful shopping center. You got Bernie's Burger
Yeah.
Bus on one end. You got you guys kind of the
Annie
pillars of
Pastas
that.
just moved in there.
Who did?
Annie Pastos.
Okay.
They've been in Bel Air for 25, 30 years.
You guys are rocking the boat all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
People are loving it. I mean, they're coming from all over.
Yeah.
So
Now, I know you referenced the banh mi, but the banh mi doesn't necessarily. The banh mi can also be a reflection of Houston as well. You know, because
Very diverse.
I know, Robin, you and I talked at length about our favorite banh mi's and where you can get a good banh mi and everything. And I was like, man, I gotta give a shout out to Don's Cafe. But you've taken all of those influences and still molded it into a Houston style. Not like you said, you didn't want to get pigeonholed into just the Asian style of barbecue or Asian cuisine. You've molded it to reflect that part of the community in Houston, which I think is just a phenomenal blend of everything. I think everybody's kind of done that with their different backgrounds. And you were talking about, like the surgence of this craft movement, or somebody broke the mold and now it's become almost like, hey, let's top each other. Let's do something different. I know you both were there at the wine and barbecue pairing, with Italian wines of all things, and so it's like
that was cool.
Everybody's trying to break that mold and say, look, there is some play into here. Hey, these guys aren't just pit masters who just do brisket after brisket after brisket. They want to create.
Yeah, so Quee hit the nail on the head. You can go anywhere and get barbecue. I mean, there's probably 100 barbecue places in the Houston area that do brisket, and ribs, and sausage, and turkey. So, I mean, you have to be able to execute that with your own little flair on it. But you also have to have something that really sets you apart. You're kind of like your identifier. Right. These guys have nailed it with, I'm just going to pick one, the brisket fried rice. That's not the only thing that they do that's fantastic. But everybody has their thing. Ara's cooking over oak that comes out of wine barrels, and he does duck and octopus and all this really elevated like fine dining barbecue. So you have to find some way to identify to differentiate yourself from the other guys in the marketplace. Sure, it's craft barbecue. What's craft barbecue? Craft barbecue is just something that somebody's really putting a lot of love and attention into, and they're doing it on a smaller scale than the chain type barbecue places. Yeah. For me personally, when I do something that's from a different cultural background or has a cultural influence, I try to stay true to that influence. Like I used to have a pork belly banh mi on my menu, and it was a straight up traditional pork belly banh mi, as best as a white boy can execute.
Shout out to the white boy.
Yeah, I'm neighbors with the guys that win, right? Win restaurant, they do a pretty good banh mi. A couple of the owners will come down, they're like, hey, that's a pretty damn good banh mi. But I like to rotate stuff in and out. I've got something on the menu that's got a Greek influence, and I've got something on the menu that's got a New Orleans influence. And I try to stay true to those roots. But it's still fun to be able to bring in something that really shows your personality, and you get to play with it. I mean, and they're right. Fulmer and Reed and J.R. Cohen. They really, when they put the throwdown together, it really gave us all a platform to kind of show off how creative or crazy.
Not only the throwdown, but now I see, even the Houston Barbecue Fest. You'll see people now. Houston Barbecue, even though it's not competition, I look at it now. It's almost like a big throwdown. Because it's not just brisket and ribs and sausage there anymore. Everyone's doing crazy stuff.
It's not a competition, but it is.
Yeah.
Indirectly.
The first couple years we did it, you saw a lot of just, you got brisket here, you got, prime rib, you have lamb chop, like just a lot of your traditional stuff.
Right.
And then I think after a couple years of the throwdown, now like every barbecue festival.
Started seeing the pastrami.
Yeah, you see a lot of
smoking alligators out at Houston Barbecue Festival 4 years ago.
You know what's interesting about that is that I know one of the previous owners, right, of the throwdown, and he did pretty well on traditional barbecue, right? And then the second year he lost to something that was outside the box. And so you lose some of that traditional barbecue, right? But then you also open up a world of creativity and a world of opportunities to things that evolve normally. So the guys that are sensitive about this is barbecue, right?
I have fun with even the traditional stuff. Was it last year at the throwdown or the year before? I did Trinity. I did brisket, I did sausage, and I did pork ribs. Mm-hmm. I presented it differently. It was just not your traditional. I had it on a wine stave. It looked pretty cool.
It was beautiful. Yeah,
but it wasn't your typical Holy Trinity that I did on that. But, speaking back, I remember the first barbecue festival. Actually, first time I came to one of the pop-ups these guys did. Okay? At Blood Brothers. I tasted their barbecue. Oh, my God, these guys are phenomenal. And they don't have a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
And we became friends, and ever since we've been hanging out, and we all have a lot of friends in common before we became actually friends. Guys from Pitmaker, hanging out with them and doing things with them. That's what I think were my respect of coming from fine dining and operations side of the restaurant, seeing this family of barbecue guys and how amazing they are and supportive they've been of me coming into it, and also with the friendships that we develop over time. And these guys have been kicking butt. And
I think at my very first, well, one maybe second or third, it was probably the Woodlands Barbecue Festival, and I saw Brotherton out there, and I got a chance to meet him for the first time, and we had some dialogue, and before I left, I just had to go say, hey, look, right next to you is Daddy Duncan, the guy who's fresh, right? He's just getting into the scene, he's trying to get his feet wet. So congratulations for coaching him, mentoring him, lending a hand to help, whatever it is, because that's the kind of community it was. I had never seen that before. Yeah. But to your point, Ara, it is a family that's in competition with each other but has each other's backs, right? And when I saw that in multiple examples, today is one of those where you show up because you want to be a part of that process of harassing them or giving them a good time. It's really refreshing. And so this is, I think this will continue to grow. That's my opinion from the outside looking in, is that it'll continue to grow and barbecue is going to get better and better and better. And to your point, an international barbecue, right? So we're seeing all this influence of the Mexican culture in barbecue as well. Yeah. So where white bread used to be, we now have tortillas. And then they're putting some sort of crema and they're putting pickled onions and man, it's phenomenal.
Yeah,
so,
thanks, Pit Room.
So that's so refreshing that the food evolves with the people, right? And so I think it's super cool.
Well, that's the other thing though too, is that we could sit here and try to create all these creative dishes, but if no one's buying them, then we're going to stop.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But the public's been extremely receptive, and in fact, when customers come to the door, sometimes they look at the menu and they'll say, "What's special? What do y'all got on special?" They don't want that. they want to know what we got that's special.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts.
Well, that's like walking into a restaurant and telling the chef, "Look, just make me whatever."
Right.
Just make it grilled cheese.
And not only is the craft barbecue becoming like what you talked about, but I think it's also starting to influence other establishments as well. Your pop-up at Fluff Bake Bar is a good example of where it's starting to influence how other businesses can do things. Because it'd be hard for Blood Brothers to have the pop-up of Jim Buchanan in there or Ara in there or something like that.
Well, we also talked about like it's getting recognized nationally too, with James Beard recognizing Franklin, Tootsie, Billy Journey this year, and then several other ones. Rodney Scott, it's not.
I think they said there was like 8
Barbecue
restaurants or something this year.
Miss Tootsie all the way, man. Miss Tootsie all the way. That's all I gotta say.
We're gonna have to put a pit outside because they're coming here to Houston, I think, to have their conference. So.
Oh right. They are.
The James Beard.
They're going at Hugo's restaurant.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So to that point, the evolution of barbecue, the James Beard Awards and nominees and recognition. That's just a whole different level. That while I'm not Daniel Vaughn, I'm not a barbecue snob. I'm becoming a little bit of a barbecue snob. You know what I mean? Like I used to go to Spring Creek because I get all you can eat Italian cut green beans. But now I'm like, I'm not going there for that. I'm going to go get this barbecue. It's gotten so much better, and we're very appreciative of that. So thank you guys for jumping in, right, and putting your best at it.
Yeah, I think all of that creativity that's coming out is the cool part. And you're seeing different influences. You're seeing different people's take on it. You're seeing guys who maybe aren't classically trained or who are classically trained who can put a twist on something that now somebody else is going to see and say, hey, look, I'm going to take influences there. And it seems like everybody's influencing each other. And now, like I said, it's starting to affect those outside of the barbecue community where like Daddy Duncan's doing a lot of collabs with different places, whether they're doing a ramen dish with his, with his brisket or whatnot. And I think that that's an awesome element to be able to have, not only as restaurateur, to have that community, but also from a business stance where, hey, you know what, barbecue is transferable a little bit easier. Maybe I make homemade fresh pasta or something like that. Yeah, I can give that to somebody else. There's not too many other elements that a establishment can do that's part of their routine or part of their systems that wouldn't be outside the norm to collab with somebody else, And I just think that that's so cool to see coming out of the barbecue community where it's like, had you just gone and picked up whoever's brisket, name a chain restaurant, and said, hey, I'm doing that in my banh mi sandwich or whatnot. Now, no one's going to give a shit, But hey, Blood Brothers did it. I know how they kind of do something, or
Daddy O's, right? Daddy O's Pizza. Y'all got a pizza collaboration going on over there.
Shout
too,
out
right?
to Daddy O's.
Shout out to Daddy O's on Memorial and Derry Ashford.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's just a whole nother business model that just adds to, hey, you know what? Outside of these four walls, here's another set of income that I can put together. You know, and I know we asked Daddy Duncan about that a little bit. You know, like, you know, it's just another revenue stream that, you know, you guys can put in, you know, and say, hey, look, I've got 10 briskets going out Tuesday for the collabs and things like that. And I think that that's just a wonderful business model to have as well. And thank goodness the community's accepting it, where, hey, you know what, I want my donut and I want a brisket on top, or I want I want a kolache.
That's something we haven't
We've done that before.
at the restaurant yet, but that used to be like our
We had
thing.
a buddy that had a donut food truck. So when we did a lot of events at Buff Brew, we'd have him partner with us, and he'd make like Dr. Pepper glazed donuts. And we put our brisket on there. He made a.
So do I hear something happening?
Maybe. He made like a maple and candied bacon one.
Oh yeah,
that one.
That'd be my favorite.
One.
Right there, for
Yeah.
sure.
So maybe.
Those kind of things we'll get going once we really get settled in. We haven't got there yet.
With all the success, all the accolades, all the recognition, you get any sleep?
I got some sleep last night.
2 hours? You got 2 hours
I
last
actually
night?
got some good sleep. Actually, we got a good rotation now, to where I
It's
get
gotten a
some
lot
rest.
better recently.
Yeah. Oh, that first week, I told these guys that
first month.
Yeah, after that first week or two, I told you, hey, if we keep up this pace, I'm gonna be dead. Like, so we gotta do something. So we changed up some things. So now everyone, get some rest here and there. So
Everybody's got to get that Armenian coffee.
Yeah.
Whatever Ara's doing, man, it's working. So
What's the future of Blood Brothers? I mean, I know you just got this newborn. You're starting to get a little bit of sleep now, but
The future of Blood Brothers is dinner service.
Yeah.
And that should
Yeah,
happen
there you
in
go.
about a month.
Very cool.
Maybe a little over a month.
Oh, we definitely got to give a shout out to our crew over at
Sure.
at
Who
the
y'all wanna
restaurant.
shout out to?
Chef Allen, working hard. Alejandro, Renee, Murphy, Kev, Catch, working their asses off.
So the beginning crew, they've been with y'all from the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah, and actually
Renee's the newest member.
some of them been with us since the pop-ups too.
Yeah.
So way back.
What's the address of your restaurant?
5425 Bel Air Boulevard.
5425 Bel Air Boulevard.
The Bel Air
Jim's
Triangle.
laughing. Why are you laughing, Jim?
Bel Air.
It took him a minute to think about it. I got a picture of me pointing at it.
He can drive there in his sleep, but he can't remember the number, right?
I wasn't sure who was
guarantee
going to. I didn't want us all to speak at
It's
the
funny
same
if you
time.
ask the phone number for my business, I do not know it.
I don't know mine either.
5425 Bell Air. And what about
right.
social media? Where are you guys at on social media?
Blood Bros BBQ on across the board: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Okay. Well, I'm excited about dinner because you guys always sell out. Now that's a lot of pressure though. Let
Dinner
me,
service is going to be a lot of fun. It's not going to be briskets and ribs. It'll be prime ribs and smoked fried chickens and chicken fried steaks.
Yeah, it's not gonna be meats by the pound.
No more La Lucha though. I mean, you close early. You sell out. You're at La Lucha eating like 5 days a week.
Well, that's Sunday. That's my Friday, man. That's my Friday. I'm still gonna have my Friday.
I'm so jealous
Man,
when I
you're
see it on
making me
social
hungry.
media.
I want
Like
La
you check
Lucha
in La
fried
Lucha
chicken
at
now.
4. I'm like, what the hell,
There's some
man?
advantages of having all these friends in the industry. You just
Of course.
go and visit each other. I mean, I love coming to visit them. I wish I had more time to come visit them at their place, or go visit some of my other friends. I still have to make it to his place. I haven't had a chance to make it.
Yeah,
Let
I
us know
can't
when
make
you're
it
going.
to
We'd love to
Jim
go back.
either. The only
We're
day
all
I'm
working
off,
the
he's
same.
off.
We all have the same day off. It's tough.
We all have the same days off, but that's the amazing part about the family that we have. All of us who are friends or acquaintances will call each other, "Hey, I'm coming to your place," and open up the doors, and you just get this amazing treatment of great food and.
I mean, I can't even make it over to Ara's place, and he's
either-
5 minutes from my house.
You
Literally.
can really ride his
Yeah.
bicycle to my
Yeah, I can
place.
ride my bike over there, but the day like today, we're all closed, so there's no point in riding going over there. So.
You'll still catch him there. He'll still
Oh
be
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
He'll still be there.
Well, that's why I'm really looking forward to the Houston Barbecue Festival, the Saturday before.
Yeah, the Saturday, because we'll be drinking soju
Yeah.
all night.
That's the queen.
Jim will have the bourbon.
There
Jim
you
was
go.
the bourbon guy.
Yeah.
Jim is the bourbon guy, and then we'll get the coffee at 5 a.m.
We'll go through 12 propane tanks.
These
And then
guys.
Ara's life-saving coffee in the morning.
Yeah, 12 propane.
Oh no, we did that the first year of Barbecue Fest, and when I woke up
Yeah.
that next morning, and I
You're
said,
dead.
"Shit, I gotta serve now." That was it.
At first, you had a handle and a liter of JMO.
Oh,
two
man.
handles.
It was bad. It was bad.
It was shot o'clock
Every
every hour.
Come on, Queen, bring it, Queen.
So the following year after that, Sandlin Scott,
Yeah.
he would come up. Y'all ready for shot o'clock? I'm like, nope, not this year. Tame, we're gonna tame it down a little bit.
Well, guys, I just want to say thank you very much. We're going to probably stop the podcast here, but I'm going to have other content. I'm going to keep the cameras
Director's
rolling,
cut.
different things. There's going to be bonus material. You can
bonus material.
bonus material.
Flick clubs.
Yeah, this is where we get to curse. And
There you go. Like
enjoy
really,
yourself.
really let loose. Yeah. But you'll be able to see all of that at on3media.co, or you can follow myself at Cost of Goods Told on Instagram, or you can follow now your new handle at Whitebeard Photography _TX.
That's right.
There we go. I got it.
And all podcasts are posted on.
YouTube. They're also going to be, since this is going to be the audio version, anywhere that you listen to podcasts, you'll be able to get it. But main source is going to be Anchor.
Yeah.
Then it broadcasts to anywhere that you get, podcasts. So just search for Cost of Goods Told. Guys, thank y'all so much for this. Like I said,
Hanging out.
we're going to get some food because it looks like Arash sent over some stuff. So
Cool.
I
Well,
am,
he couldn't come see us, but he could feed us, huh?
there you go.
He's feeling guilty now.
I'll
He's
take
like,
it.
actually sent some food. That's it.
So we killed one bottle of soju. This will probably be
We'll
done
move
in
on in a second.
Yeah, in just
Queen's
a
getting
minute.
warmed up now. He's throwing out the shit.
Supposed to go to dinner at my family's house, but
You can make it. You can still make it.
we'll be all right. We'll be all right.
All right.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much for listening.
Thanks for having
guys.
us on.
Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it, everybody. And all show notes will be in the description. Everybody will be tagged and so forth there. So everybody's handles and everything. So.
Y'all haven't been to see these boys at Blood Brothers. You get down there and see them.
absolutely, they do a fantastic job. Go see Blood Brothers.
Not tomorrow though. We're not open.
Yeah. Wednesday to Sunday.
Go see Buck's Barbecue. Go see Texas.
Harlem Road.
Go see Harlem Road.
There you go.
And Blood Brothers.
Oh, I'm cutting that video
We're out.
portion. We're out. Thank you guys.